Nope, I'm good with it.
No, we couldn't have.
Everybody's probably fine with not.
Took children, most people, I think there was a few, but thank you. All right. I would like to call this meeting of the Monona Grove School District Board of Education to order at 6:03 PM. Has there been a declaration of public notice? Great. Any changes to order of business? Moving on then to the consent agenda.
I'll move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
I will second that.
Great. Voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Next up, celebration of excellence. I will let you do the honors here because this is fantastic.
Yes, so we were able to compile all of our athletes and musicians and scholars from clubs, activities, and sports who accomplished either state level recognition or beyond for tonight. And so in the slide deck, it will show you all of the different groups and all of the students' names who accomplished those things. They were all invited. Now, luckily, hundreds of them did not all come tonight, last day of school and all, but we do have a small representative group that are here with us tonight. So we're going to bring them in.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, you guys can stand. We're gonna bring you right up. Thanks for coming. So obviously, if you go through the slide deck, we've got a ton of talent in the district, and so proud of all of the students and everybody that worked with you to get you here. Not just your parents driving you around and all of those things, but also our advisors and everybody through the school district that works with you. So thank you for being here tonight. There's a small group of you, so I think we'll ask you to come up and share what your achievement was, and then the board will have an opportunity to ask you questions. All right, gymnasts, we got you over there. You guys want to start? Okay, why don't you come up together?
I was like, how did you tell? So
Thank you for wearing the t-shirt.
Thank you for wearing the shirt.
Yes.
Welcome.
So you just want to introduce yourselves and share what your accomplishments were? That would be great. Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, pull it down.
Please. And you can just pull it down and I'll pick it up.
It doesn't have to be right at your face.
Go
But
to
otherwise,
gymnastics.
the stream won't be able to hear you very well.
My name is Nola Benson. I'm Kennedy Sefcik. We're both juniors.
Juniors or seniors?
Well,
Wow.
Rising seniors?
but yeah.
Here you go.
But we've both been doing gymnastics since we were 2.
And what did you accomplish?
Well, we both went to state for, what did you go to state for?
Bars.
Bars. And I don't remember what I went to state for, but I scored second. Oh, I went for vault, bars, floor, and all around.
Kind of everything.
Yeah. And I scored a 943 on vault.
That's amazing.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Where did you train at?
So we've been a lot of different places. We went to Turner's, which is where we grew up.
Yep.
And then we moved to, our freshman year, we moved to Lake City.
Okay, yeah. Very cool. We'll do questions as the students come up, just because that way. Questions or comments for our state reps for gymnastics? Yeah.
What does summer training look like for you guys?
For summer training, we train at Gymfinity, which is in
Pittsburgh.
Yeah. We work a lot of our upgrades then, and we also practice a lot of our skills that we already have just to try and solidify them.
Do you compete outside of WIA, the high school stuff? Do you do club level gymnastics off season?
We used to.
Used to? Okay.
Yeah. I quit my freshman year. Did you do it sophomore year too?
I did freshman and sophomore year.
I enjoy high school a lot more though.
Why is that?
I think that the atmosphere of high school gymnastics is a lot more supportive than club is. Club is very like it's like golf claps, like little, you can't cheer a whole lot.
Yeah.
But then at high school, it's like.
Sorry, I'm a hockey mom, so I don't understand. I'm very confused.
Like gymnastics is like, high school gymnastics is like hockey.
Yeah,
It's
like if people
you can
aren't
scream as
LFGing,
loud
I don't
as
know
you
what to
want.
do with
Yeah.
myself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, well, that's good to know. So it's like more hype, feels
Yes.
more just
Yes.
like, it like more of like a kind of party supportive atmosphere.
Yes, for sure.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, Janice.
Questions. First of all, so you mentioned upgrades. Like, do you have a favorite upgrade that you're like working on, either one of you?
I don't really have a favorite upgrade, but I like working my bars. It's kind of my favorite event. So any upgrades I do on bars will be fun.
What is an up? That's like when you do something
Like
that's like a
another
higher level
skill.
of difficulty. Sorry, I'm really smart at gymnastics every 4 years, and then never again for 3 and some change. Susan, did you have a question?
It actually was kind of similar to Janice's, and that was, what's your favorite thing that you do when you're competing? I always think about the vault, which is kind of terrifying, but
It's very scary.
It's really scary.
isn't it? I mean, again,
I guess I don't know if it answers your question directly, but my favorite thing about gymnastics is not really gymnastics. It's the team and just like doing things together.
Mine, well, okay, that's a good one. I can't really follow that up, but I really like floor. Floor is my favorite. That's like my thing, and I like twisting on floor a lot. So, especially back twisting, not really front twisting. Front twisting doesn't really make any sense, but back twisting comes easy to me. You just like pull to the side and then you just like spin, you know?
Yeah, Janice.
Do either of you play another sport? I kind of know the answer for Nola, but
Yes, I play girls tackle rugby.
oh my gosh, rugby.
I don't play another sport. I'm not very. I'm coordinated in gymnastics, not really in anything else though.
Well, it takes a lot of coordination to do gymnastics, so.
and I will say, if I could do anything well in gymnastics, it would be floor. I can do a cartwheel, and that is the limit.
That's
I always love watching floor so much.
yeah, it's my favorite to watch.
Thank you, ladies, and congratulations.
Next, I think we have some of our Jerry Award winners here. Is that correct? Yeah?
Speaking of hockey momming it, I was at the Jerry Awards.
Yeah,
and I was
come
like,
on
let's go have Jerry.
I was sitting next to her. She was.
Because, you know, you can take the mom out of the rink, but you can't take the rink out of the mom. Welcome.
Welcome. So tell us a little bit about what your experience was and who you are.
Yeah, I'm Beatrix Paulai, and we won a Jerry for The Little Mermaid. It was a really fun musical, and I had a great time.
What part did you play?
I was Arista, one of the Mer sisters.
Were you at the awards then Sunday playing? What was it like with all of those other musical theater students and backstage, and like what was the experience like?
It was amazing. It was definitely the biggest stage that I've ever performed on. And it was really cool to see all the other schools and all the other groups. There's a lot of talent out there.
That was an amazing amount of talent, of which our students were like right in there. So it was amazing to see you kind of set within the suite of the best of the best. Other questions, comments? Yes, Susan.
Again, for anybody else that saw the Jerry Awards, and it's really too bad. I don't think they filmed those.
It was streamed.
And you can watch them. So I would encourage all of you to do that because it was spectacular, absolutely spectacular. And I really wondered, so was the gentleman who did the flip at graduation on the Jerry Award? Because he reminded me of the crab and the cowboy dancer at because they've got you all over the floor doing things. They filled the overture like a New York show. It was great.
What year are you in school?
I'm a sophomore.
You're upcoming sophomore. You just
Upcoming junior.
okay. Sorry, now it's
junior.
I know it's sorry. You're a
as of
rising
2
junior. So do you think that you'll audition again for next year's musical?
For sure.
Awesome. Other questions or comments from the board?
And she's also on show choir too, so she's a busy.
Oh, you guys had a great show choir year this year too.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, congratulations and thank you for bringing your artistry to the stage. It's wonderful.
Thank you. Representing together, separate.
All three of us are state solo ensemble, and then he has 3 other things.
Oh,
Great.
wow.
So let's, you know what, we'll all come up for solo ensemble, and then we'll leave you there for your other two things that I can't really wait to hear more about.
I did vocal. I also did vocal.
And I had 2 vocal pieces.
Okay, there we go. I'm Evelyn Stelzer. I just graduated on Sunday, so.
Congratulations.
And I'm Landon Selzer, and I'm a rising junior.
So
You understood the assignment.
I did a classical piece. It was Class A, and I ended up with a 2 because I was sick on the day of state.
Oh, no.
But it was really nice, and I got a lot of good feedback at state. They had, like, the judges were very insightful.
What kind of feedback, like what, when you think about that, like what is the kernel of feedback that you walked away with? Like, oh yeah, this is like something I can really apply.
Usually my feedback has always been that I shrink into myself a little bit when I sing, and I need to like project more and use like my body to act more.
Okay.
So it was a lot of that.
Yeah. Well, consistency is good, right?
I also did 2 vocal pieces, and I got 1 on both of them, and I got a lot of really good feedback. A lot of it was based on like phrasing and dynamics and being more like expressive.
What kind of pieces did you sing?
I sang a classical and musical theater. I did Solveig's Song by Grieg, and then Mixtape from Avenue Q.
Oh, nice. That's a fun one.
I did a classical and music theater piece, and then my main comments were kind of on the higher notes, just kind of like straightening in the high parts because my voice sits a little lower naturally. And the 2 pieces I did, one was called The Vagabond, and the other musical theater piece was Empty Chairs and Empty Tables from Les Mis.
Oh my God, that one's so good.
I got 2 ones as well.
Thoughts, comments, questions from our board? Yeah, Rochelle.
Well, congratulations to all of you. I was a choir kid too and loved doing solo ensemble. It's like the competition of the musicians. So
I still have my like little blue medals.
But I didn't get to sing songs like that. Like having musical theater as a theme is fantastic. So bravo. And with all the other music that happens in the school, that's a really nice compliment to the other pieces that people are doing. So bravo. Keep singing. Will you be singing on your next step?
Yes, I'm going to college at Carthage, and I got a music scholarship that's contingent on both me being in an ensemble and then also having private lessons.
Congratulations.
Fantastic.
Wow,
Congratulations.
amazing. Anyone else? Well, congratulations to you all and thank you. And you get to say what I was told.
Talk about your other accomplishments.
Both of
Both
us
of you? Yep.
went to forensic state for speaking, and I did the impromptu section, which is you get 5 minutes and you get a random prompt that could be a number of things, and you have to have 5 minutes to make a note card as well as speak on your topic. So it's really a rapid pace. You never see the prompt beforehand. You get a new one each time. So I find that very interesting and fun to do just because it's like spontaneous.
What are you judged on?
There's what is it, 4 or 5 like categories that you're scored on, and it's like 1 through 5, and it's like how your speaking sounds, like projecting your voice and being clear. Eye contacts, I think, in there as well, like posture, and just like kind of as well as the delivery of your speech and the contents of it. And so it's just all about like how you've done in essence.
I'm really curious about that too.
So one of the prompts I had was like a desk lamp. So like that's
the prompt.
It's like a random thing. That was one of my prompts I had, and so I had to,
A desk lamp?
a desk lamp. Yep. And so I had to make a speech about a desk lamp.
What do you?
I want to hear it.
I mean, I actually want someone from the board to try to wax philosophically for 5 minutes on a desk lamp and see how well we do. Like, wow. Huh.
And then
Ode to lamp.
do you get critiqued on your note card as well, or you just need to use one?
You don't actually have to use one if you don't want, but it's very useful. I'll sit down there and I'll jot down a couple ideas, like it's major topics, and like I'll write down like subtopic ideas under it, and then I'll go from there. So,
Okay.
so a lot of it is just making it up on the fly based off your ideas that you write down with the like 2 minutes that you have to prepare.
Is the tone of the piece directed? Like, is it supposed to be persuasive, informative, up to you?
It's definitely up to you, and I think if that varies by your prompt, is because some of them can be quotes, song lyrics, and these different things, and so it's like if you want to persuade someone to believe in like whatever quote it is, then like that's what your speech could be on. If you want to motivate them to do something based off of a quote and it's like that, so just whatever like you want to incorporate with your prompt.
No.
Organize that quickly.
Yeah.
Beatrice, what about you?
I did public address, which is a set of, I think there's like 5 different options, and they're all on like relevant social topics. I did mine on the effect of generative AI on human thinking and creativity.
Oh, interesting. What were some of your points? Do you remember?
I focused a lot on how it affected the arts and how it kind of steals from artists and takes away from their hard work and creativity.
I'm curious because you both are accomplished singers too. I'm curious like how your vocal kind of coaching and practice, like how it does or doesn't influence your ability to do these kinds of speeches.
It definitely helps a lot with like confidence and just general kind of expressiveness, because we're both having to, kind of express our facial expressions, singing, and also variation of tone and not sounding super monotone. So I think that comes across in our speeches.
Yeah, definitely.
Janice.
Those are the events that you went to state in. Did you do other events like at district level, or not district, but like regional?
No, can you only do one?
Really? Like when you compete?
I think some people do multiple, but
Okay.
I don't think anyone in ours did.
Okay.
Well, congrats again to you both. I mean, it's been quite an accomplishment. I don't know how you have time for all of these things. All right, and you're here again, right? I should actually just make you leave and come back.
You have to sing before you.
All right. Oh, is this Decca?
Yeah, we can do that.
Wait,
Are we just going through the slide deck?
What would you like to do? This is like a
Deck is good. Deck is good. So I qualified and placed 7th at state. And then I moved on to the international competition as well from that. So I did principles of business management. So it's basically you get a topic and you can choose whatever topic you want to go on, which is mine was business management. And so that gives you a multitude of things in the business management area that could be covered. So you get a 100-question test and at the start, and then you have 2 role plays, which is basically you get presented with a business situation based off of what your event is. So for me, it's like something in the management realm. And then you have 10 minutes to prepare a note card where you get these performance indicators, which I believe you get 5 in the principles category, which those are targets that you have to hit that's on your scorecard that you get graded off of how well you do by executing those. And so after your 10 minutes are up, you go for one-on-one with a judge in front of them, and you present and speak on whatever your event is. And from that, they're grading you. And then once you're done with your speech, they ask you 2 questions every time. Then you have to respond to those questions. So it gives you kind of the realm of being having a heads up response to whatever questions someone you might be interviewing as a coworker or potential new employee might be. And so then they score you out of 100 for each of those 2 role plays, and then your total score out of 300 is what places you amongst everyone else. And then you can get medals for your specific events. So however well you might do on the test, you might get a medal for the test, and the other 2 role plays, you might get a medal for those. and then the overall scorers get the like medals for being a finalist, which is like top 10 or top 7, and then you move on if you place high enough.
Questions? Yeah, Janice.
Like your forensics helped you with, you mentioned having to give a speech. Do you feel like that complemented what you were doing in your DECA?
Yeah, and I think they definitely go hand in hand. Like some of the reasons why I do impromptu is because I know that I'm good at those, like getting a new prompt or getting a new situation and like making notes on that and speaking on it. And so those kind of go hand in hand to help me like be better at both of them, as well as those skills translate to a lot of other things, right? Like performing in front of other people and vice versa. Those help what I'm doing in DECA and forensics.
Time do you get to go home at night during the school year? Do your parents, do they see you ever, or?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have other activities besides the ones we're talking about now that you're involved in?
I'm also involved in show choir. And then I also take private singing lessons outside of that as well.
Well, again, congratulations on all of your accomplishments, all of you.
Yeah, thank you all for coming.
I got one more.
Oh, you got one more? Oh, by all means.
By all means, please.
I qualified for state track and field in the pole vault.
Oh, I love the pole vault. It's so hard.
Yes, so that's kind of my number one like thing that I love to do. So I tied my PR of 13 feet and I placed 18th out of 20 something people there.
Wow. Congratulations. That's a whole lot of. I tried it once. It was not a good experience. Like it was, I'm sure everyone watching it really enjoyed it, but it was not a good experience for me. What brought you, what made you gravitate toward pole vault?
Well, I was first introduced to it in 6th grade through a club. I'm not sure how my mom found it, but I started off and I went
we're really good at stuff.
I went a handful of times from 6th and 7th grade, and then once 8th grade started, I really fell in love with the sport, and so I started doing it at a club twice a week.
Okay.
And I have been doing that since 8th grade. So I trained there year round until the season starts for high school, and then I'll work with my coaches there and pole vault through that.
Do you have a rival pole vaulter? You don't have to say their name, but at a school that you're chasing and you're like, this is the person I'm wanting to beat?
Nah, not really.
No?
I mean,
It's not a big pole vault rivalry in Dane County?
No, I mean, I know a lot of the people through the club that are good, because most of the people that are pretty good at pole vault go to a club of some sorts.
Yeah.
And it's a very nice community. Everyone's
nice.
kind of good. There's not really rivalries in the sense of Monona Grove versus Wanakee,
Yeah.
right? It's one of my best friends through pole vault goes to Wanakee, and it doesn't matter how we do because we're all just friends and we're looking
Being
for everyone to do
supportive.
good. Yeah.
Other questions?
I don't know. Wait, hold on. What was your name again? Was it
Landon. Yeah.
Landon, yeah. Congratulations on all the stuff. I'm wondering maybe you should do more, though, because it doesn't seem like you're really involved with many things. No, congrats to everybody and to you, too, for all the hard work that you guys do.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Yeah. Thanks to parents for bringing. No, our young people are incredible. I told Mitch at graduation, I'm like, these young people have accomplished more in their 15, 16, 17 years than I have in all of my years combined. It's just the incredible amount of dedication and excellence that we have here. So thank you for representing our district so well. It really truly is incredible. And as you could tell, I could talk to you guys all day, but everyone's looking at me like, Elizabeth, we have other business, so I will move along. But thank you again for coming. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to other people who are accomplished from the student side, Elsa with her student report.
Okay, so I believe this is my last student report.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I know, I'm sad to go, but I figured we'd end it with a banger and we start right away with the class of 2026. So if anyone is watching on the video stream, congratulations. This was a really superb and outstanding class, and their graduation ceremony I was at performing with the band, and it was spectacular. The student speakers, the teacher speaker, and then the guest speaker they brought in all did a very nice job of helping these graduates walk the stage and transition into their next stages of life. So that was really amazing to see. And congrats 2026. And then we also have the ribbon run. I think I mentioned this in my last month's report, but on May 31st, HOSA and MG Coalition hosted the ribbon run, which Steps for Strength 5K. This event was coordinated by students with the goal to donate 100% of the money earned to the Careborn Cancer Center for gifts on the American Family Children Hospital wish list, which is a really superb goal. And it's really amazing to see an event like this donate 100% of the proceeds. That's really rare. So to see that and have these students have this goal and then work for it was really, really impressive. So they had a turnout of over 80 runners, which was just amazing to see, participating in the inaugural event. So, and then also they wanted to say big thanks to the sponsors and volunteers who all helped make this event possible, and hope to see events like these continue in the future at Monona Grove. Then for student organizations, just one up for the month of June, but Monona Grove Model UN last week, Monona Grove Model United Nations sent 3 students to the inaugural Tournament of Champions hosted by Harvard Mun Canada in Toronto. This conference featured some of the top delegates across the globe, pushing students to their full potential. All 3 of the students who were sent received individual awards within their respective committees, and their combined efforts earned them the title of Outstanding International Delegation, giving to the international school that receives the second most overall points, like overall within the entirety of the conference.
That is
So
incredible. And you were there, right?
yes,
That
I was one of the
people?
students. Are you okay if I speak on it for just a quick second?
No,
Yes.
please do. It's
This
an
was
amazing accomplishment.
It was an amazing opportunity. I think this is one of probably the biggest thing that Monona Grove Model UN has ever achieved, to send only 3 students and then to receive second place overall within the entirety of the conference was just spectacular. The amount of competitiveness and excellence within these committees was it was superb. Like, you were really truly competing with people on your same level, but also working with them. I know that I learned so many things from other delegates within my committee. I participated in the International Monetary Fund, so monetary policy is not always the most exciting topic, but it was just amazing to see that it grow with the ideas of people who may only be 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, but really still have that foundation, and the growth that will come from that, to see these future leaders all in the same room together. It was amazing for me to see, and I felt so inspired being with them. And I know my fellow delegates who came from Monona Grove, we've spoke very highly of what it had to offer for us, and just being able to do so well is such a recognition of the work that our advisors have put into this club for so many years. And so I'm just really proud to be a part of the organization and to represent Monona Grove internationally.
Well, congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much.
And your peers. It's incredible.
We got a little trophy, so we're all really excited, taking pictures with our trophy.
Yeah, we should put it in the board docs, but yeah, the board got the snapshot of the picture that you all took.
Little trophies and medals, we felt so accomplished. Harvard, very studious.
Yes.
Very fancy.
International champions, as we do. I love it.
So it was a tight turnaround for the conference. We didn't even know it existed when we qualified, but it was an amazing opportunity, one that I'll never have something like that again. So it's an amazing memory, and then also just to be able to have that experience was really phenomenal. And then the band and the choir performed at the graduation, which really adds a lot to the ceremony. I really saw the audience really engaging with that performance of live music, and it really showcases the effects that those arts and the fine arts have at our school, and really bring a lot of life and depth. So yeah, there's my final report. Yay.
Questions for Elsa at all? Yeah, thank you so
much.
Yeah, Elsa, you have been such a joyous light on this board. It's been so great. I feel like you bring, such thorough information, but with a level of enthusiasm and energy. You ask really great questions when we're in discussion. And so you have been an invaluable member of this board this year. And so I'm so grateful that you dedicated and volunteered your time to spend with us. And we will definitely miss you next year.
Yes, thank you guys so much. You all have been so supportive and helpful. I always know that I can reach out if I have any questions. So I really appreciate that. And I talked to some people who are interested for next year, and we have a really strong class of interviewees coming up. And I'll still be around. I'll be coming to the meetings, helping mentor as we transition into the next steps. But thank you so much.
Well, you're always welcome back anytime. So you just let us know, okay?
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you again, Elsa. All right, moving on to public appearances. I believe we have just one today, Tish? Oh, sorry, I didn't see them in the board docs. Hold on a second. Okay, so I will call you in the order in which you are registered. So Andrew, is it Seidel or Seidel? Seidel. Seidel. I was wrong twice. Welcome.
Thank you. Today I had the joy of watching our son's 5th grade graduation at Winnequa. And it was, of course, all about the kids, but we parents got a little shout out from Principal Hagan at the end. Parents, thank you so much for your support and partnership and the kindness you have poured into these years. And that meant a lot to us because our 2 oldest boys, Simon, who just finished 3rd grade, and Oliver, who just finished 5th, have been thriving members of the Winnequa family since 2019. This community is their home, and our family has poured ourselves into this district. My wife and I are involved parents. We are at every Culver's fundraiser, which is no hardship. We click on every link to donate. We shop the teacher's wish list. We're at every school event, both of us. We bid at the silent auctions. We do everything we can to support and contribute to what is truly a wonderful elementary school community. And that has always made us feel welcome. This year, Oliver and Simon's younger brother, Tristan, was denied open enrollment and put on a 4K waiting list with at least 13 other kids. We expressed to this board how this harms our open enrolled family and pleaded for you to open more spots, which is within your power to do. This board's reply was basically tough luck. We have a shifting philosophy on open enrollment. And tonight I want to express to this board the deep hurt that this policy towards open enrolled family has caused our family, and to express the anxiety of the many open enrolled families that I've spoken to who have relied on assurances from this board in planning their children's futures. According to the board's website, last year there were 81 open enrolled students at Winnequa, down to 55 this year, down to 6 by 2030. And the board seemingly brags that it has moved from offering 123 open enrollment spots across the district in 23-24 to, quote, just 3 for the entire district in the coming year. This decision, which is neither inevitable nor irreversible, has made it impossible for children like our son to enroll in their siblings' school. Your new policy is separating families that are a part of this community. And the board, again, you describe this as a, quote, shifting philosophy on open enrollment. And tonight I'm asking you to be more candid with the open enrolled families who contribute to this community by confirming what that shifting philosophy actually means, that the board is working to eliminate open enrolled families as quickly as possible from the district. Now, most school districts prioritize enrollment for obvious reasons. Growth in enrollment equals revenue. This board has admitted that repeatedly. Yet you project negative or flat enrollment, all while Cottage Grove schools are notoriously under-enrolled. The district owns a second school, Maywood, that is near Winnequa and is, quote, underutilized, to use your own word, but which could be utilized. And as you state in your long-range facilities plans, Winnequa, though closer to capacity than the other district schools, uses classroom space strategically to meet needs and admits that not all classrooms are being utilized as such, so, if needed, could return quickly. And despite these facts, declining enrollment, facilities below capacity, and underutilized facilities, the board is aggressively eliminating open enrollment. And it is hard to make sense of this policy. It truly is, as anything other than hostility towards open enrolled families who have been committed contributing members of this district since our kids were 4 years old. In the past, this school board assured families that the district doesn't intend to require any open enrolled students to reapply or reopen enroll for middle or high school. But the board also assured open enrolled families that it would guarantee spots for siblings. And then that was removed, a policy you just abruptly changed, furthering separating families. The board changed the transportation policy for open enrolled families last year without warning. Again, that was a change that was reversed as long as we paid a larger share for that privilege. Is it any wonder that every open enrolled family in this district is uneasy about the security of their child's place in the district through graduation? After 7 years of our family's investment and commitment to the MG community to now be made to feel unwelcome and to be driven out of our kids' schools is heartbreaking. So on behalf of my 3 wonderful children and the other families who are in similar positions, I ask this board again to reconsider this needlessly harmful policy of driving away thriving students and create enough open enrolled spots to accommodate their siblings. Please think on this and think on the thank you from the 5th grade graduation and show the open enrolled families that same, quote, support, partnership, and kindness that we have poured into this community for years. Thank you for your time.
Right, next up is Chelsea Pepper, which I believe you will be reading, right, Tish? Still that.
Good evening. My name is Chelsea Williams Pepper. I am a lifelong Monona resident and parent in the district and a member of the Save Our Schools community group. Unfortunately, I am unable to attend tonight's meeting in person due to work obligations. However, I will be following the meeting on YouTube, and I appreciate the opportunity to have my comments read aloud and included in the public record. As the board considers taking another step towards the sale or transfer of Maywood, I want to speak about something that has become increasingly important to me throughout this process. Much of this discussion is focused on enrollment projections, demographic trends, and facility costs. Those things matter, but I worry that we are losing sight of students, staff, and programs that exist in the buildings today. Recently, I met with a school board member to discuss many of the concerns families have been raising. During that conversation, I mentioned MG Futures and was surprised to learn that the board member needed a reminder about what that program was. I do not share this story to embarrass anyone. I share it because it left me wondering whether we fully understand the programs and people that are being impacted by these decisions. MG Futures is not just a room assignment, it is a program, it is students, it is staff, it is relationships. It is an educational opportunity that exists today. If Maywood is ultimately sold, what is the long-term plan for MG Futures? Not a temporary plan, not something to figure out later, a real plan, a permanent home. Because students and staff deserve that certainty. I also continue to have concerns about equity across our district. Families continue to raise concerns about crowded shared spaces, lunch schedules, indoor recess, intervention spaces, student services, and safety at Winnequa. Those concerns are often acknowledged, but the response frequently comes back to enrollment projections or comparisons to the past. I have heard it said that Winnequa used to serve even more students, including middle school students. Respectfully, I do not believe the question is whether conditions are better than they were decades ago. The question is whether today's students have the space, resources, and learning environment they deserve. Children only know the schools they are given. They do not know what they do not have. If one elementary school has more space, more flexibility, and more room for students during lunch, indoor recess, and shared activities, while another school is struggling to make everything fit, I think it's fair for families to ask questions about equity. Every student in this district deserves the best learning environment we can provide. I understand that the district faces difficult financial realities. I understand that Maywood requires significant investment and that these are not easy decisions. But before permanently removing a school property from district ownership, I believe the community deserves clear answers. What is the long-term facilities plan for the district? How will current concerns at Winnequa be addressed? What is the permanent plan for MG Futures and other programs currently using Maywood? How is facility equity being considered as these decisions move forward? And if Maywood is transferred to the city of Monona, what does that mean for Monona taxpayers who ultimately inherit the responsibility for maintaining and improving the property? These decisions will impact students, families, staff, and taxpayers for decades to come. I appreciate the board's recent efforts to create opportunities for greater staff and community involvement through committees and future discussions. I think that is a positive step, and I hope those voices will play a meaningful role in shaping what comes next. I also want to acknowledge that many families were relieved to hear Nichols and MG21 are considered off the table at this time. That was important news for many in this community. As we move forward, I hope we continue asking not only what buildings cost, but what opportunities they provide, what students they serve, and what kind of district do we want to leave for future generations. Thank you for your time.
Next up, Nicole Schoenbeck class. Welcome back, Nicole. Hello. Nice to see you. You too. I like that dress.
Thank you. Okay, it's on. Hi, I'm Nicole Schoenbeck class, and I wanted to start by saying thank you to all of you for all the work you do on the school board, especially tonight. I'm sure all of you with the end of school have a lot of competing priorities tonight, much like I do. I won't be able to stay for the whole meeting, so I'm excited to listen online later, heading home to celebrate my fifth graders' completion at Winnequa here.
Congratulations.
I also wanted to thank you because in the last meeting and also at the workshop, it seems like we've shifted a little bit in our discussion and we're having more meaningful conversations or more significant conversations around these decisions that you are faced with. And I really appreciate that your efforts are seen. But at the same time, I want to, backing up. One thing that came about in the last board meeting was a deeper dive into the enrollment, which was a valuable piece of information. But I then took that and went a little further and thought about it more. I took those numbers, and I know those aren't like official projections or anything like that, but just wanted to share my internal thoughts as I was digesting those numbers, because numbers are really my bread and butter. So based on that information, it seems maybe reasonable to say we've got 500 resident students. That's been fairly steady for 10 years. And then from those numbers, you can kind of extract a potential number of what you get from each apartment, which indicates that we could easily have another 30 to 50 students coming from these 1,200 units. And I know that's a really small number in each unit. It's just the quantity of these apartments that really worries me. And then if we say something changes to open enrollment, which we just talked about, I think, again, in the last meeting, there was a little shift to how that's being funded, and I'm sure the shifts in how that funds affects what's in the best interest of the district in terms of open enrollment. So maybe that number ends up changing again, and maybe that's not 6 students, maybe it's 20 students, maybe it's 30 students. I don't know what it is, but that could easily put us right around that 550 to 600 student mark, which, yes, is lower than today, but is not significantly lower today. It's not 500 students where I think a lot of people might be comfortable saying the school could run at that. It puts us right at that dangerous edge where, like, if there's any change to programming, say 4K shifts someday to be full day, which isn't crazy because once upon a time kindergarten was half day, these types of things might add into there and we won't have the flexibility for that. So that's really my concern at this point, as well as the fact that we're sitting on a 7.5 acre parcel, which is just incredibly small. All our other schools have much more acreage. If you were to take our Winnequa enrollment and follow the 1963 guidelines and split it between Maywood and Winnequa, we would actually meet the guidelines, but we don't meet any guidelines. And I know they're not standards. I'm grateful they're not standards. We're in a city, we're in an urban area. We can't follow it to the letter, but we can follow the intent. And that's something that I haven't really seen a lot in the discussion. And I'd love to hear more about that. And then there are other issues that we haven't really discussed in too much detail, logistical issues, safety concerns, crowding in the tornadoes, parking lot pickup issues, things that you have because of how many students you have on such a small driveway, and other things that maybe there are solutions for, but without solutions for them, it feels like saying, hey, we're going to get rid of this possible solution just feels too final, I guess, in a sense. I did do some digging, and I went back because I was trying to understand back in the early 2000s when the school was so crowded with middle schoolers, I was trying to understand what the sentiment was because I know we built a new school because of the crowding. And I thought it was interesting. Patty McGinnis in 2008 was quoted in the Herald Independent saying that from her perspective, we've had issues with enough space for quite a while and that there have been a lot of proposals brought forward about remodeling the building and expanding the building. And it was clear in her sentiment that both of those, remodeling, expanding, were sort of insufficient. They were like, if that's all we can do, that's what we have to do. But that is not the top option. So she seemed grateful that the communities came together and built the middle school to solve the crowding issues. And I just thought that was kind of relevant to how we're talking about Winnequa today. The combination of all those items that we haven't fully hashed out yet. And the sentiment from 20 years ago in terms of the crowding at the school, it kind of make me pause with the decision you're making tonight about engaging with the city. I know that that's not a final decision, but it's the next step in the decision, and I'm not convinced that we're ready to go that far yet. So I just want to encourage all of you to continue the conversations we've been having and to continue to make slow, careful decisions as we go forward. Thank you.
All right, next up is Rachel Whaley, who I think you're reading this one also, Tish, right? I think it's Wally.
My screen bigger. Hello, Rachel Whaley, Wally here. Unfortunately, I am unable to attend, so thank you for taking the time to consider my concerns. I have been a realtor in the Madison and Monona area for 24 years and have been a resident for Monona for the past 3 years. I also have a child entering the 3rd grade. I care deeply about our community and the longevity of our schools. Schools play a critical role in our community and in real estate. Historically, a majority of my clients who intend or have already have children seek out school districts as one of their most important criteria for their home search. We all know that MGSD has an incredible history of being an awesome school with fabulous teachers, staff, and community support. This is very desirable. Many of us also know that MMSD does not maintain the same levels of excellence. Families from Madison are seeking Monona. Madison is building new schools to overcome crowdedness. Rural schools might be closing, but our community and county is growing rapidly in population, driven by landscapes, bike paths, and so many fabulous job opportunities that have become available in our area over the years. Monona has always been a community that people will wait to get into. Some spend a year or two just waiting for the right house to come on the market. Why did they have to wait? There hasn't been a lot of turnover in the past, with boomers still occupying their houses that they raise their children in. This is changing. Let's talk about that generational shift that is happening. Generational shift is when retirees move out and new buyers move in. Monona is up 10 sales already from January to June compared to last year. That's a lot. It is just the beginning of the housing state increases due to the generational shift. Broadway Senior Development and others should help allow seniors to transition while staying in the community. Don't get me started on how upsetting I feel about the lack of condos being developed. Families are moving in and then spreading the word about how awesome Monona is while keeping Monona connected to Madison by the improved bike routes. I've talked to other realtors and they also agree that a big shift is coming. Soccer teams, the pools, the Parks and Rec summer programs, and Rap Care have greatly increased attendance. Longtime owners enamored with how many young kids are now on their streets. The city of Monona has done an incredible job of renovating parks, drawing families to Monona, and lighting up the community again with music, events, and programs. Birth rates in Wisconsin have declined from approximately 14.3 births per 1,000 women in 1975 to about 10 births per 1,000 women today. That's a difference of 22-ish children for 5,000 women in Monona. However, fertility rates alone do not account for migration patterns, housing turnover, or local development trends. At the same time birth rates have declined, Monona is experiencing a generational transition as retirees move out and young families move in. That shift has the potential to increase our school-age population regardless of state fertility trends. See this website. All of this on top of the 600-plus apartments that have recently opened or have yet to open for occupancy, plus the recently approved 650-plus units that will occupy the old WPS building on Broadway, really increases Monona's population. That is 1,200-plus apartments. Over 30% of the aforementioned 600-plus apartments offer 2 or more bedrooms. I believe that nearly 10% of Winnequa attendants that occupies apartments, which would be 125 children projected to attend Winnequa, in addition to the influx of families moving in due to the generational shift. Open enrollment might be closing, but families will just seek out housing in Monona whether they have to rent or not. If the rationale for selling Maywood is financial, then we must fully evaluate the cost of the alternative. Before selling Maywood, the district should obtain multiple bids and conduct a comprehensive feasibility analysis for any proposed addition at Winnequa while maintaining safety and the same standards that our other elementary schools have in our district. Standards such as playground, outdoor spaces, gym space, and space for indoor recess. We need to understand the true costs, construction timelines, zoning requirements, and operational impacts before making an irreversible decision. There is no land to build a new school on. Most importantly, we should be planning for the next 10 to 20 years, not just the next 5. The future of enrollment in Monona is influenced by much more than fertility rates. Housing turnover, population growth, community investment, and new residential development all have the potential to increase demand for our schools. We needed Maywood in the past as a school. We cannot sell Maywood without being 100% certain we can do an addition to Winnequa. We can make no assumptions on this. At a time when growth is booming, we must make no assumptions. There are still many questions that need answers. A group of residents has submitted a list of questions to the board, and while some responses have been provided, several questions remain unanswered or only partially addressed. We look forward to receiving complete information to better understand the situations. As always, thank you for your time and your hard work.
And thank you, Tish, for reading that. All right, our last public comment for today is Rob Padell. Welcome, Rob.
All right, my name is Rob Podell. I grew up in Monona, and then I was actually in Cottage Grove for a while during elementary school, moved back here for middle school in Winnequa, and went to Monona Grove High School, and they tore it down 2 weeks after I graduated. The facility was terrible. It was leaking, it was cold. The teachers were great, though, so I don't think that the facility limited my education. One of the things it did teach me was to ask a lot of questions, and I have been gone for a long time from the Madison area, like 20 years. I recently moved back 2 years ago, and I started hearing about the financial issues with Monona's school system, and then hearing about the possibility of selling Maywood, that kind of thing. And I just wanted to show you guys a couple things that is like data. This is from Cottage Grove's website. It's a graph of their population, and it says in 1970 they had a population of 500 people. In the year 2000, they had a population of 4,000 people. And in 2022, they have 9,000 people. Now, that same time period, I have a graph for Monona. Now, it's going up too, but it's not doubling. It jumps around from 7,000 to 8,500, maybe 9. The issue that I'm seeing, though, is that Monona is landlocked. Cottage Grove has doubled its population in the past 20 years. I don't know if that's going to stop, especially with all the jobs and development off the freeway. Maybe it'll all just be robots since it's Amazon. But the point is that I don't know about all the open enrollment, but when you look at the projections, and again, I don't have all the data you guys have, but so I'm just using the internet. It says by 2050, they expect the village of Cottage Grove's population to reach 20,000 residents. So anyway, this is what I'm getting to. It seems inevitable that Monona Grove and Cottage Grove will split based on that. I mean, it just, maybe not, maybe I'm wrong, but if that is an inevitability, I would hate to sell the schools to make up for budget things now, and then later when we need a school because all the Cottage Grove kids have their own schools, then what? And so it just seems like my experience in this country and this state is there's a lack of long-term planning. So I would like to know what the long-term plans are when Cottage Grove continues to accelerate in growth. Monona pretty much stays the same. I mean, It seems like we could potentially sell Maywood, then have to require a bunch of money to expand and renovate Winnequa. Then if we split 10, 15 years from now, then maybe we didn't need to spend the money. So I'm just asking these kinds of questions. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't have kids. So again, I'm new. I don't know much about the history, so maybe this has been discussed, but as far as I know, it hasn't. I talked to someone a month or two ago, and they said the last time they did a study like this was in 2002. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I'm concerned about, the lack of long-term planning. Because ultimately, the taxes are quite high here, and if we need to renovate and expand buildings, that's just going to jack up the taxes even more. Maybe it's smarter and cheaper to split sooner. I don't know, but that's what I'm putting out there, and hopefully you guys are the experts and you can figure it out, because I don't want to do it.
Thank you, Rob. Okay, moving on. That was our last one, right, Tish? Okay. Moving on to action items. We have a number of action items today. So starting with H1, the 2026-2027 Support Staff Handbook. Kristen, are you coming up for that? Okay. And are you and Tanya leading this, or is personnel leading this?
Janice, do you want to give any background on the Support Staff Handbook?
I would love to do a little bit, and then I don't know what you all want to present, but I will say there were quite a few meetings with both Buildings and Grounds and the paraprofessionals and administrative assistants, and there was an exchange of language, things that were important to the employees, things that the district wanted to possibly improve and make changes on, and through those, we have come up with this list, and it was very collaborative, and I just have to say, just a huge shout out to both Kristen and Tanya for their leadership through all of that, as well as all of the people that, district office people who worked on it, like Carrie and Tish, and I said this once before, Carrie.
Bria.
Thank you. And also, and he gave me the tool. Sorry, I just got back from vacation.
Oh, no, you're good. I didn't mean to put you on the spot either, so if you want. Yes.
Where I was and my brain is done. But anyway, it was a long process, but I feel like it was really successful. And having been through that process from the other side, I know it's really important for employees to feel heard. And I believe that happened. So I just want to thank you guys for that.
Yeah, appreciate that feedback. Because we have 3 bargaining units, we spend a lot of time going through these things, multiple meetings, but we appreciate everyone's collaboration. We'll just hit a couple highlights. Many of these changes are the same that are in the certified staff handbook that apply here. I think the things that are unique or different, we wanted to add some clarification around frequency of evaluation. And so helping people know in writing that they are evaluated in that first 3 to 6 months. And then after that, every other year. So we did codify that. We do provide uniforms for buildings and grounds. And we worked through a different building allowance so that buildings would have $200 allowance and $350 for buildings and grounds and head custodians, because they do a lot of the snow removal. They do a lot of the stuff in the summer, and making sure that they can rotate through buying the things, whether it's winter boots or, bibs, things that have more of a heavier price tag to them for them to do their work. So we worked through that with them. In addition, our buildings and grounds does do a different level of work when it comes to the 24/7 nature of our buildings and making sure that they're running. We have a large amount of things that happen outside of the school day. And so making sure that we had some clarity on language around additional pay. A lot of times they can be contacted at home and asked to log into the computer or do something from an electronic end. So just really put that remote contact, callback pay, and building check pay in here, so there was clarity around that. And then also when we talk about reduction in force, it had a 14-day notice for that, and we moved it to 30 days. So I would say those are kind of the bigger highlights that would be different from what you saw from a certified staff handbook. So just open it up to any questions that anybody has.
Questions? Great, I would love a motion.
I move approval of the 2026-2027 support staff handbook as presented.
Second. Great, any further discussion? I just want to say thank you again to Personnel Committee, Administration, MGEA, and support staff. And this also goes for Building and Grounds as well, for, always coming together and coming to the table and coming and being able to come here with really solid agreements that everyone feels good and comfortable with. I've said this many times, but I fundamentally feel like it's a huge problem if people don't understand the conditions of their employment prior to their engaging with their employers, right? That feels like just basic employment rights. And so I know it's not a small amount of effort that you all are putting in across kind of board, admin, and MGEA. So I just want to reiterate my gratitude on behalf of the board. All right, we have a motion and a second. Are we comfortable with voice vote on this one? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Next up, the 2026-2027 Building and Grounds Collective Bargaining Agreement.
Every year, the board negotiates base wage with all of our union units, and I'm pleased to say that both the board and the Buildings and Grounds group did come to agreement, consensus on 2.63%. That is the maximum that we can increase base wage by law. So attached is the 26-27 collective bargaining agreement for your consideration.
I'll move approval of the 2026-2027 Building and Grounds Collective Bargaining Agreement as presented.
Second. Any further discussion? Voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Next up, the 2026-2027 Building and Grounds Compensation Plan.
Well, the base wages will increase 2.63%. We've talked about meeting that 75th percentile benchmark for all of our employee groups, and we made another large jump this year to get those groups up to the 75th percentile. The average increase for the Buildings and Grounds compensation plan is 6.7%. We applied that to the adjusted salary schedule that is attached. That will move our custodian 4 to the 75th percentile, custodian 2 and 3s to over the 75th percentile, and the custodian 1 and grounds to the 55th. Although the custodian 1 and grounds are just the 55th, those employees received the highest increases because we did increase those rates pretty significantly.
I will move approval of the 2026-2027 Building and Grounds Compensation Plan as presented.
Any further discussion? Voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Next up, the 2026-2027 Paraprofessional Admin Assistance Collective Bargaining Agreement.
Similar to the Buildings and Grounds unit, the board and the paras and administrative assistants have come to an agreement on base wages of 2.63%, the max that we can by law.
I'll move approval of the 2026-2027 Building and Grounds Compensation Plan as presented.
I'll second that.
This is paraprofessionals.
Oh, sorry, my screen didn't update.
So the motion is to approve 2026-2027 Paraprofessional Admin Assistance Collective Bargaining Agreement as presented.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any further discussion? All right, voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Next up is the 2026-2027 Paraprofessional Admin Assistant Compensation Plan.
Yes, well, base wages will increase 2.63%. We continue to try to strive to that 75th percentile for all employee groups. With the paraprofessionals, administrative assistants, the average increase is 6.82% from 25-26, which brings our admin 1 and 2 to just under the 60th percentile, our SEA and EAs to the 65th, and our health room assistants to over the 75th percentile of our benchmark districts.
Can I get a motion to approve the 2026-2027 Paraprofessional Admin Assistance Compensation Plan as presented?
So moved.
Second. Any further discussion? I just want to say, because I know we're going to move into beyond sort of compensation and bargaining, but again, I think we have made a commitment around the 75th percentile for our staff, and it's really great to see that we were able to get there with our certified staff employees and that we're making really good progress with our other bargaining units. So thank you again to admin, MGEA, Personnel Committee for working really hard to make sure that this continues to happen and that we are kind of keeping pace with what we're saying. Moved and seconded, voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. All right, moving on to item 6, discussion and possible action regarding property utilization.
So we've been having lots of conversations since October about our property, and as way of background, I did outline the different steps that we've taken. The last couple of meetings and board work session, lots of good conversation around data and different things, and seemed to come to consensus on a couple of different things last meeting as a discussion, but nothing codified. So wanted to wrap that up together and come back tonight and see what other discussion items might need to be had, and see about board proposal and consensus around a few things. One, we had talked in the last meeting about what is the Village of Cottage Grove's interest in Taylor Prairie, and perhaps using that as some sort of park and rec or something similar that happens here with Maywood. They did respond and say that they are not interested at this point and don't see themselves having an interest in the next 5 years. So they did want us to know that. I think based on a lot of different multiple feedback and organizational just footprints, consensus of the board was not taking any further action around Nichols Road property, which is MG21 in district office, or any other real estate assets that the district owns at this point. And then we have had conversations that have happened back and forth between, kind of some people in the city having a conversation about wanting to take ownership of Maywood. What does that look like? There's been a lot of conversation about that on our end, and what does it take to kind of toss the ball to the city for them to begin to engage in this, as they're also doing their 10-year comprehensive plan about what that looks like. And so wanting to operationalize some of those things, and then looking for possible action on giving some permissions. Per policy, don't need it, but in the piece of transparency about wanting to make sure that everybody is kind of aware of where we're at, about asking the city to engage in a conversation and giving a letter of interest if they want to pursue any kind of proposal by August 31st. Obviously non-binding, and any kind of negotiations that would ever happen or anything like that would happen at the board level. But we've talked a lot about what if, but trying to gain some more solid information from them as a board about what really their planning is and what they would be interested in having conversation about.
Questions for Tanya or Kristen in the back? I may call you back up. I reserve the right to call you back up. Yeah,
I don't have questions, but I just want to comment that I think this is the correct next step, in the sense that we started kind of with a broader picture, and I think whittling it down. I've made comments, I think, similar to this at a couple previous meetings, that getting everything else off the table so we can focus on what do we do with Maywood, I think is the right move right now. And I think it's fairly clear that we need to at least exhaust the possibility of the city, one way or the other, whether it happens or doesn't happen, or there's something that makes sense. We need to go down that path and find out more information. We need the city to start thinking about it in a real way. So I think that this is a logical next step in my mind. And I want to just clarify, that this is not the board saying, that we absolutely plan to sell Maywood to the city. This is us saying we need to start engaging with the city in a meaningful way and have the city start engaging with this prospect in a meaningful way so that we can start to understand what the potential paths forward maybe look like. Because, that's just the next sort of bucket of data that we need and information we need to start thinking about the future.
Susan.
I strongly support continuing work with the city of Monona. I want to make that very clear. I still have a lot of concerns, again, about capacity at Winnequa. So I would like us to continue to have these discussions and have the board support that, and to have the information as it's being discussed, the steps, just as Philip said, clear to the board that are going to be followed. I'm a little concerned about using the language of moving at this point. I could see this in July, but I think we need a little more time to document the strategic plan of the steps that would move us to a non-binding letter of intent. I actually did a little bit of research on that, and Boardman Clark actually has a nice little summary about that, and it says exactly what you're doing. Letters of intent are created during the initial stages of a transaction as a means to summarize the main points of the contemplated transaction. Now, we can do that without actually taking this step quite yet, I think, because my major concern is that they go on to say, and these are, we get these in our board email all the time because it is a law firm that we use that provides information to us. It says, believing that the preliminary document is not binding, but this is not always the case. This particular issue has spurred a number of lawsuits, and they give significant number of examples. And minimally, he said, you need to involve your legal counsel using this type of document. So I would strongly support moving forward with clear discussions and steps with the city of Monona in terms of how that's going to work. I continue to have serious concerns about certain pieces of information I don't have yet before we get to this binding letter of intent. I think we need to do additional work and get that information back. I think we're going to need legal guidance. I have strongly advocated for a community meeting so that we can sit as a board and hear both sides, and anybody that is interested enough to come talk to us about Maywood. I would like to make sure I have very clear documented information. I've only received verbal communication about the ability to expand Winnequa. And I may have some, when I was looking for it, that didn't come forward for me. But again, when you look at the language of the, the non-binding effectivity of proposal, the idea I think is right. I just think we need to take some steps, very clearly outlined steps before we actually move to that.
I think there's a couple of things in your comment to unpack, and I think it's worth us separating a number of those things. So I think the first line is around legal support and legal guidance around this. And so, and I know, Philip, you have a question too, but before we get into that, I'm just curious, Tanya and Kristen, from your perspective, kind of what has been the level of engagement with Boardman and Clark on this ahead of this meeting today?
Yeah.
Point of order for 1 second. I would prefer to make the motion and then move into the discussion.
Okay, that's fine.
If that's okay.
Yeah, that's great.
I think that's the better way to do it,
Yeah.
organization-wise. So I'll move to authorize the administration to solicit a non-binding letter of intent from the city of Monona regarding the potential sale of Maywood Building located at 902 Nichols Road to be received by August 31st, 2026, with the formal contract negotiations to commence only after board receipt and review of said letter. No further exploration any other real estate assets owned by the Monona Grove School District at this time.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, great. So now we're officially motioned and second. Now we can move into discussion, which is the proper way to do things. So thank you for that. All right, so curious, because I think that's a pretty straightforward question and an important one.
Yeah, so Dan Fahey is the attorney at Boardman Clark who I worked with on this approach. And this was his guidance of how we would engage the city for them to begin to speak of it and kind of allow them to have further conversation in a very formal way, which they haven't yet been able to do or haven't brought to the table. And then obviously if it was something they were going to do, Boardman Clark works pretty closely with the city attorney, and they would work on that in conjunction.
Great, thank you. And then Philip, you had.
Yeah, Susan, I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page too, that this is not about us issuing a letter. This is about the city issuing a letter, not us. So they could issue a letter anytime they want to. We can't dictate whether they do that or not, right? So this is us asking them to consider a letter. We're not talking about authoring a letter to the city.
Again, that's strongly what I support, is going forward and looking at it and starting to put the package together. Right now, I feel like the package is already here. We're just waiting to put the bow on it. And I'm saying, let's open the box and see what's in the package first. And then I'll have a better idea of how we're going. Again, and being able to get that feedback as we go forward, is Tanya, and that's appropriate, going to be the person that's going to be meeting with the city? Is she going to be meeting with the mayor? Is she going to be meeting with city council people? Is she going to be meeting with legal counsel? I don't have that information. And without that, I definitely support moving forward on getting the information. I would delete the language of the non-binding agreement so that we can move forward. And then if we come to that point where we say, hey, we're ready to put everything into specific language that effectively moves you to the sale.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Susan. I think that there are a couple of things that I want to note, and then I want to open it up for other board members to discuss. I think, to me, there's a difference between a letter of an intent and agreement, just as a concept, right? Like an agreement to me is like, you're going to do this and you're going to do that. I think what I've heard the board speak about over the last several months, we've talked about this, and certainly chime in, board members, if I'm misrepresenting, is that as a board, we seem to have a value around ensuring that Maywood remains a community asset, right? As kind of our first priority. And so to me, I think the first thing about this is like, why are we even soliciting something like this, or why are we putting this as an action? And my point of view on this, just speaking for myself, is that this allows us to say to the city and to the community, essentially like, we want to hear what your thoughts are on this before we even think about anything else that might be on the table with Maywood, right? Like before, like we don't want other people coming in and, emailing us or knocking on our doors to say, hey, we can get Maywood at a, this, that, and the other thing, right? We're a developer or anything like that. I think our board value from what I recall from our conversations is that our preference is that this stays a community asset, right? And so engaging exclusively with the city to start so that the city then has the opportunity to say, yeah, we're interested in that, and now we can think about what that might look like. Or they may say, we're not. And then as a board, we need to come back and figure out, okay, we walked down that path. Now, what are we doing with Maywood, considering all the information that we've received so far? So I think I want to sort of couch it in that value piece, Susan, because I do think that the intent of the motion is around us signaling to the city and to the community our value around this maintaining to be a community asset for Monona.
We do not have to do the binding.
It's not binding, though. It's non-binding.
The non-binding language. Again, if you look up a definition, you're going to get in Wisconsin, a formal non-binding letter of intent is a documented preliminary offer that outlines commercial terms that explicitly excludes legally enforceable obligations. Okay, so all I want to do is take the informational step, the building relationship step, the understanding step.
I hear you, Susan.
For that step.
I hear you. Philip, you had spoken, I think, Susan. I want to hear from other members of the board, and then we'll circle back to you, Philip. Rochelle, Stephanie, Janice, Eric. Oh, Eric.
Well, Susan, I understand. I think I understand what your concern is, and I think it's important that we have to get an official, notice from the city that they may be interested in it. Like, we can't just ask, say, hey, are you interested? Or I talked to so-and-so and they said they're interested in, maybe buying it. There has to be some official way that we gauge their interest. So I think that's, correct me if I'm wrong, the purpose of the non-binding, asking them to send us a non-binding letter of agreement that they're interested, because otherwise, how do we get that information? So what is the alternative way that you would suggest to get an official communication from the city that they might be interested in buying it? Because we need to know that first before we do anything.
Effectively, I'm saying there are very specific things that we still have not done, and information I think as a board would be helpful for us to have before we take this step. And all I'm saying is I can see this step coming forward in July. Once we learn, I don't have really good solid background about where we are right now.
So I'm just trying to understand your concerns. So you're concerned that we're not ready to move to this next step yet? You're not ready.
Exactly.
You're not ready to move to this next step yet.
I'm not saying I wouldn't support it. I'm saying, again, I
think you have a preference for a different order of operations than what's currently being presented.
For this month. A different approach rather than coming and saying, and again, when they talk about this being
Susan,
a
I hear you.
preliminary offer.
I want to let Stephanie, Janice, and Rochelle have an opportunity to weigh in because they haven't yet, and then we can circle back around. Whoever wants to go, I just want to make sure that we're giving voice to all the folks. It's a big decision.
I think that I'm comfortable with this moving in this order. Because I also feel like the city is going to take some time to be able to get together as I don't know if they would first go through committee and then go for the full board, but for them to even be able to kind of consider what they were, if they're interested, and then having to figure out like how it would work for them in a way that then they could propose it to us. So I'm okay with it, but I'd still be interested in hearing what the other folks say.
Stephanie or Janice?
I'm just curious, Susan, is there something specific that you're hoping for versus, now versus, it's okay that we do this in August or in July, but not now? I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything, some specific info that we could get right now that would bounce this to July and that would change things significantly?
The piece that I'm concerned about is the legal piece that could set us up for potential, it could technically set us up for a potential lawsuit. And I'm just trying to avoid that by making sure that we've had legal advice about the intent, the letter of intent, that we are moving in a direction that effectively it appears, and we've really studied this, that there's consensus from the board to go forward with looking at this. But I would use language other than the non-binding agreement piece. I would basically do the motion of authorizing the superintendent to move forward with discussions with the city in terms of,
So I think to Philip's point, actually, there might be a couple of things that are getting conflated here. So this motion, as I understand it, right, is not about like us sitting at the table necessarily engaging with the city. This gives the city the opportunity to talk amongst itself and come back to us and say, hey, we know, school district, that you guys have been talking about this for a really long time, right? And there's been a lot of public comment, comment from us, community conversation around, hey, what about the city? But the person that hasn't been in those conversations is the city. And so then this, I think the point is, Susan, to signal to the city, hey, if you're interested in coming to the table to talk about what this could look like, please do so, and please do so by the end of August. So it's not an engagement in the way that you're describing it, Susan. So I think that might be a little bit of a confusion.
Okay, but you don't need a non-binding letter of intent to do that.
We do if we do if we want to signal we don't want solicitations from other folks. That's what I'm saying about it being a value. Who hasn't gone yet? Janice.
So I am not a lawyer, but this seems to make sense to me that we are asking the city of Monona to let us know by the end of the summer if they're interested in this property. And it seems to me that without worrying so much about non-binding letter of intent, because non-binding to me means we're not entering into an agreement. We're just asking them for hey, what do you guys think? But they need a formal way of expressing it to us. Am I getting that right? They need a formal way of expressing to us whether they are or not interested, and I think that's what we're asking for.
Well, I think we need to have a guarantee that we're not also soliciting things on the side, right? That it's that this is a sole engagement between us and the city, and not about us engaging the city over here and then around the corner, around the back, engaging a developer.
So, I mean, I am comfortable with this because we have spent a lot of time in looking at a lot of data, more data really than I had thought that we would look at when we first started. I'm also really pleased that we're only looking at this one property and we're kind of putting everything else aside and just focusing on this. So I am comfortable with this.
Yeah, so this motion means, I think, a couple different things to me, maybe three things. One is that we're going to slow down, right? So we're not engaging with the city with this motion. It's actually, in my mind, it's kind of the opposite, right? We're giving them some time to breathe and think about it, to maybe get feedback from their constituency before they respond to us. So the alternative motion of saying, administration go start talking to them is actually accelerating compared to this, right? This is us saying, time out. Next step for us is to find out what level, if any, of interest is there from the city. If there is interest, then we start engaging. Then we talk about authorizing some sort of path, right? Some sort of, what does that look like to engage and start talking about possibilities. So this actually, to me, pauses a little bit, right? And says we're going to all just sit back, catch our breath, give the city a chance to think about this. Two, the city could send us a letter of intent anytime they want to. That's not up to us, right? We can ask for it, which is what this motion, instructs administration to do. But I mean, 2 weeks from now, they could send us a non-binding letter of intent. That's not we don't control that, right? Whether we ask for it or not, they could send us that letter of intent. So that's why I don't personally see any particular risk in asking for it and saying, hey, we will, in good faith, sit tight until the end of the summer. And we'd like you to let us know at that point. But they could send that letter to us anytime. We can't. That's their choice, right? We're not talking about authoring a letter or putting anything down or committing to anything. At least as I understand it, someone correct me if
Just
I'm.
to solicit one from them.
Yeah.
Just to say, hey.
And we could fail this motion tonight and they're watching. They could say, let's still send them a letter anyway.
That's true.
Right? So the city's going to do what the city's going to do. I think this is us formally suggesting a course of action that tries to keep things more transparent and black and white and puts a little bit of a timetable on at least where that next juncture is, right? And again, to emphasize, in my mind, that next juncture is simply understanding if the city is interested. Then we have to figure out what does that interest look like and what. Because it's possible the city's interested, but we can't come to terms. There's a number of possibilities, right? We don't know that yet, but we need to at least find out if the city thinks this is something they even want to entertain.
Other thoughts? Yes, Tanya.
I think when we think about the prior lawsuits, those were really around starting negotiations with a letter of intent, really talking about a price, a closing time, things like that. It's not what we're looking for. So, when I talked to the lawyer, to your point, this is kind of an odd ask because to your point, they could send us, anybody could send us one at any time. But the fact that we want to formally initiate with them for them to start having that conversation and then doing this. So we're not asking them for a proposal. We're not asking them for a timeline. We're not asking them for a price. We're just asking them to a letter of intent that they would be interested into entering into, can't remember. exactly how it-
Negotiations.
Yeah, right. So that letter intent about price and timeline and all that, that's later. And so this is one step back from that, just like you're talking about you want. This isn't about getting into an offer, which is where the non-binding would give a false sense of they could back out of it if it was an offer, and it's not.
If you're going to talk about an hour offer, so you're telling me.
We're not.
Well, I mean.
We're not looking for an offer. We're looking for, we've been talking a lot about the city, but the city needs to talk about it and tell us kind of where they're at. Because all this could be mute if they're like, no, we can't, we're not interested. So that's what we're trying to find out.
I strongly support going forward with this. I do not support using the non-binding letter of intent. Because I think, and again, you guys can tell me there's no possibility of a legal issue. That's not what I found in my research.
What legal
And that what
issue would
makes
you
me-
think would happen?
Well, again, I didn't write down all the different number of lawsuits or the things that that caused the lawsuits, but basically, they started out with talking about one party got sued by the other party they were having a discussion about a mutual intent to negotiate in good faith to enter in a definitive purchase agreement. Again, I'm not sitting there, so I don't know where the guidelines are that are going to happen as this moves forward. And sometimes I don't get the feedback in a way that the community might have the feedback. I mean,
Yeah.
Tanya can't talk to us every 2 minutes.
I think it's a fair thing for us to keep an eye on, right? So should this motion pass, I think kind of the legal pieces of it are something that we're going to want to keep an eye on. And Tanya, work closely with Boardman and Clark and their representatives there. I think the other thing I'm hearing you say, Susan, is around what are the communication structures and mechanisms between administration and board. And so that's something that we can that's outside of the scope of this motion, but certainly something that we can talk about, you and I, offline, or we can engage with administration on that to make sure that you're getting the level of information in the formats that are most effective for you to be able to be a contributing board member. So that's something that you and I can work through too. That would be a little bit outside the scope of this motion.
Those are exactly the kinds of things setting up the communication structures and what those are going to be and how that's going to go forward. I'd like to know more about that.
I hear you, yeah.
Before I support.
Okay.
Again, I support going forward.
Yeah, I understand, like conceptually.
Support putting this type of potential legal issue into the middle of it as we move forward.
Yeah, your concerns have,
I don't support.
yeah, I hear you. Your concerns have been noted. Any other comments or questions? Otherwise, yes, Elsa.
So yeah, just to step back a little bit and to take a look at the broader just community engagement over the past year, I've seen a lot of development with how the community has viewed this property, and going forward, I think what I'm really seeing, whether the agreement is in correct legal terms or not, is just the intent of the property remaining for the benefit of the students. I think that has been amazing for me to see the development with the board and the engagement with the community. I mean, these are people who care so much about these students, and that property remains a place where they can have a safe haven, they can have a home. And so having these steps forward and directly engaging with or indirectly engaging with the city shows a really clear path where communities and families can find security in the fact that we're actively correcting and working with the city to go forward. So I really appreciate that engagement and that knowledge, and that it works to remain a public entity.
Yes, Rochelle.
And in another, just in my mind, you know, if the city then after receiving this and they say, you know, we're kind of not in a position to be able to move forward, that's a whole different conversation for us. And then we really have to start from square one again, I think. So just like knowing if this is a good, if we're setting, you know, just what kind of work is ahead of us as we move forward, I think is good for everybody to be aware of and transparent on.
Any additional questions or comments? Otherwise, we do have a motion in a second. So I can move to vote. Okay, we'll do a roll call vote for this one. Rochelle?
Aye.
Philip?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Janice?
Aye.
Susan? Stephanie?
Aye.
Elizabeth, aye. Ayes have it, motion carries. Good discussion, everybody. Moving on to H7, 2026-2027, Property, Casualty, and Work Comp Insurance Renewal. Welcome back to the table, Kristen.
Thank you. This item was discussed at last week's F&O committee and forwarded to the board for consideration. Due to the timeline on waiting for the renewals, our renewal is July 1st. All of our carriers like to wait until the absolute last moment to make sure they get all the claims, potential claims in before they give us their renewal rates. At the time that I wrote the background, I didn't really have a firm proposal. Before the June 4th meeting, I had the proposal that is attached. Between that meeting and this meeting, our broker has worked to market the workers' comp piece and negotiate regarding our property. Those are the two lines that are most. I did receive confirmation just before this meeting that the proposal that attached stands. The alternate carrier for workers' comp didn't come through with as high of a dividend as we thought. And workers' comp is really based on a calculation that the state sets the rates. We don't have control over that. Our modification is a calculation within that rate. And our payrolls. And so there's not a lot of wiggle room there other than the dividend. And since we didn't get any movement on the dividend, the proposal is to stay with our current carrier of RAS. The other line that increased, Tish, could you open up the attachment and go to page 2? The other large increase has to do with property. We did have a large claim for the wind damage at Taylor Prairie, which even though we had that claim, the rate really is reasonable, increasing from a 0.074 to 0.078. So involved in that calculation on the premium, you'll see 25-26 is $225,000, 26-27 is $245,000. What they do is they take the value of our property, which was $304 million. This year, they increased it by inflation because we have to make sure that we can cover all the costs should all of our property be eliminated at the same time. And so the calculation between the rate and the value is what determines that, that premium. So with that, I do recommend the renewal at a total rate of $495,505.
Of the 2026-2027 property and casualty insurance as presented as a total cost not to exceed the estimates provided by the Deputy Superintendent authorizing the administration to bind coverage effective July 1st, 2026.
Discussion.
Just quick comment, and if you can clarify too, just to make sure I'm not speaking incorrectly, but the increase of roughly, I think, 13% year over year is commensurate with previous years and not unanticipated, I think, from a budgetary perspective.
Right, not unanticipated. Our liability side is pretty flat, you'll see, so that's reasonable. The modification is really good at a 0.86. Average is 1, and so for us to be at a 0.86 is really good. We've just been better in the past, so that increases that rate. And then just with the claim on the property, but still even with that claim, the increase is reasonable. The rate is competitive. Our value is a 2% increase. That's not unreasonable in terms of increase. So, yeah.
Other questions? Okay, Janice, your face. Voice vote on this one. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you, Kristen. Maggie, next up, 2026-2027 school nutrition fees. Welcome. Happy last day of school.
Yeah, to all of you too. Thank you for having me. I'm Maggie Santa. I'm the school nutrition director with Monona Grove School District. And I am bringing forward today a meal price proposal for next school year to increase meal prices at all grade levels. We have had expenses exceeding revenues for year after year, and just looking to stay on top of that, but also balance price tolerance with families. So we had a really lovely in-depth conversation last week with F&O committee about why we're increasing meal prices and what we'd like to see happen next. Student meal prices are like one of 5 of our revenue streams, so this alone won't balance our budget, but it's one of 4 that we can control how quickly they increase. So we are looking to increase them for next school year. Tish, can we go to the table? I think it's the second to last slide. Yeah, we're skipping most of the presentation, but we can take questions. Yes, thank you. And I guess one note too, I have adult meal prices proposed here, but we can't actually finalize those until we know the reimbursement rates from USDA, because we have to make sure that our prices include all of that to make sure that USDA is not subsidizing adult meals.
Just as a reminder for anyone who's not familiar, that can you clarify that like our school nutrition program is effectively self-funded, right? Yes. So it carries its own fund balance separate from the fund balance we talk a lot about at the district level, and that fund balance is actually in a healthy place right now, but it has been we've been chewing into it a little bit year over year the past 2 years. And I think the other thing that I think is always worth mentioning is that this is a program that benefits from participation, right? So it scales with participation. Every additional 10, 20, 50 lunches that we serve is more, we're able to do that more efficiently than, we don't have to, it's not a linear addition of overhead to do that. So really encourage participation where we can get it. And I think that's the other issue, though, that was highlighted in the presentation, is that participation has been relatively flat, if not declining. And a lot of that has to do with, as I recall, sort of artificial inflation of participation during COVID when it was all free for everybody. And so we're kind of been coming down from that inflation we saw during COVID. But and the last comment I want to make is just that I think this is smart to do now. I think it's a good idea to get ahead of this, and also to not get into a bad place down the road if we don't increase incrementally, where we also have to increase significantly. Right. And there's a lot of price shock for people, and it's a lot harder to do it later. So, we all know prices are going up and may continue to go up on lots of things, and so. I think this is a good idea now. The final thing I'll say too is, and this is in the doc, but I just want to highlight it, that this is in line with neighboring districts too, from a comparables perspective.
Adjacent question for you. As we think about how students become eligible for free and reduced price meals, and sort of the changes that we've seen at the federal government around how those benefits will come down to families, and then how that may or may not impact their eligibility or their kind of willingness to engage with eligibility in the school. Do we know yet the impact for this school year on that? And do you have an anticipated thought around next school year?
That is a good question. I would say we've seen minimal impact this school year. I think it is going to hit next school year.
Everything comes into place this summer, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay. That would be the only, just something for us to keep an eye on. I'm full in support of this. I think, it needs to be a self-sustaining program, and part of how you incentivize school meal participation is through all the great programming that you've brought to us, Maggie, which I just love and will praise you all day for, right? Around, fresh foods, farm to table, taste testing, all of the great nutrition education that you're doing. And I do want to keep an eye on how our family, what our free and reduced price lunches are sort of have been historically, and if we are seeing a dip and kind of what that may or may not look like in terms of how we're modulating our own prices. So just a thing to keep in the back of our minds as we move forward, which obviously is outside of our control, how the federal government decides to engage families with benefits, but certainly has an impact on our families who would otherwise benefit from those benefits and then by default qualify for free and reduced. Yes, Janice.
I was looking at the slide about what makes a school meal and noted that it said you're looking to maximize local purchases. Are we able to like purchase some of our food from local? Are we?
Yes. So when the fiscal year ends, I can put together numbers for how much we did for the 25-26 school year. It's most significant, I would say, in like September, October, because that's when we have the most available produce. But we try to do something all year long to, whether it be meat, dairy, other items that we can get locally.
That's really cool.
Yeah, thank you.
One more question, kind of a wonky adjacent question, but I think relevant to charges, right? Because I assume that prices increase as food prices increase, right? And we know that grocery prices have increased, so costs across food across the board have increased. What is, if any, influence between the updated sort of dietary restrictions or the dietary guidelines and how that impacts school meal programming, at least upcoming this fall?
So right now, they don't have anything that's directly
Awesome.
translated from the dietary guidelines from Americans that just came out in March, I think. Yeah, recently. And so we're expecting a proposed rule right now. I think the latest we've heard is July 3rd. They're expected to release it. After that, there'll be a comment period and then final rule before we have to actually implement anything, but we're interested to see how that's going to shake out. I do think there's a little concern about whether or not that's going to like significantly increase costs because of the focus on protein and minimally processed foods, which is not bad.
Right.
But also,
from a health perspective, yes,
Right.
and from a cost perspective.
Little challenging sometimes, yes.
And yeah, okay. Well, if you could keep us updated, and I know you'll come back and give your kind of summary year report. Usually in the fall you do, but I'd be curious to know kind of what the intersections are of those guidelines, how that changes the rule, and then in turn how that's going to change pricing.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
That is the end of all of my wonky federal school meal programming questions for you.
I would love to discuss school meals all day. Just trying to respect the agenda here.
I'm going to move approval of the proposed 2026-2027 school nutrition fees as presented.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All right, voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you, Maggie.
For having me.
All right, H9. Are you coming back up for this, Kristen? Taylor Prairie Roof Project. Oh,
Spreading wealth.
I know. That's good. Hello.
Hey, good evening. So tonight I'm here seeking approval to move forward with roof repairs related to an insurance claim due to wind and hail that affected Taylor Prairie School on April 14th.
That was the big storm that came through, right?
Right. Luckily, the damage to the other buildings was minimal, but Taylor Prairie did receive quite a bit of hail damage to the roof, as well as some of the other cosmetics, such as the gutters and flashings and fencing. So our total losses comes in at just under $675,000. That would include doing a full replacement of both the asphalt shingle roofing as well as the rubber flat roof that covers the cafeteria, along with the other smaller cost items. Due to the age of the existing materials, there's been significant depreciation that was removed from that quote if we don't proceed with repairs. So the middle section on the table on the screen kind of shows the amount that was reduced due to depreciation, and actual cash value on the right side is what they deem its current value is. So if you look at that $292,000 number, that's what they would pay minus our deductible. So that brings it to approximately $57,000 that we've received. We would get the difference between that and the full replacement cost once the work is performed. So we're just asking to move forward with those repairs.
Yeah, and Bill, just to clarify, so insurance will cover, I think, roughly 80% of the cost is what it works out to, right?
Roughly.
Our deductible's right around 19, 20%, I think is what it
Yeah, somewhere in
came out
that
to.
area.
Roof is original to when the building was built, right? And so this
Yeah,
was, I believe this is on our capital plan. We had slated to begin work on it this year, I think, and we punted on it. Then we
Yeah,
got the
with
hail
the closure of the
damage.
school, we did push that back for right now. That building does have some leaks, original shingle roof that's 32 years old, so it was definitely due for replacement, so despite being an unexpected expense, in the grand scheme of things, it's probably a good thing that it did happen to that building. However.
Expected but not unanticipated kind of thing.
Right. So the wind and hail deductible is higher than most of our property deductibles. It comes in at 1% of the total replacement cost of the building and the fixtures on the site. So that puts us up to the deductible being somewhere around 236,000. That would be subtracted from our total number.
Yes, go ahead, Rochelle.
At F&O, we had talked about, you felt you had the funds in your budget to help to cover this then as
Right.
well, so we would have
Yeah,
to move
I have some
things around.
remaining buildings and grounds funds in this fiscal year. So pending approval, we would use much of that for a down payment that would fall in this fiscal year. And the 26-27 budget would be largely unaffected by it.
I move to approve repairs to Taylor Perry's roof as presented.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
Just a quick comment that, while I'm not thrilled to have an additional $200,000, of unanticipated cost, with a roof this old, now also hail damaged, and the opportunity to have insurance cover, more than half of the repair, I think it's really the correct choice.
And keeping our buildings in good condition, I think, is also the correct choice.
Building's gonna be vacant.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Go ahead, Eric.
Oh, it's just nothing we can really do about it, but.
I mean,
Situation we have.
yeah, I mean, I think the fact that it's recently off-boarded makes this a different calculus than when we're talking about a building that, has been minimally utilized for a while. But it does, I think, speak to some of the liability pieces that you have been talking about, Kristen, kind of through this process and around how we are thoughtful and strategic about what it is that we need and how we draw down resources, and then thinking through kind of from that long-range planning perspective, because 3 or 4 years from now, maybe it's a different calculus. So it's just something to keep top of mind as we're thinking about future of Taylor Prairie.
And I'd say the big benefit is, it comes out to be roughly $440,000 worth of items that would fall into that 10-year existing capital plan that are kind of reduced due to this.
Okay. We have a motion, a second, correct? Are we comfortable with voice vote, or you want a roll call? Voice vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Bill. All right, on that note, item H10, the 2026-2027 preliminary budget.
I reviewed this item in depth at the last board meeting. I didn't get any questions, however, there was one small revision. If you look at page 29 of the revised presentation, the Village of Cottage Grove let me know that the TID value is actually coming on the tax rolls this fall. And so that impacted, obviously, the the mill rate and the estimate of, what the impact would be on a $300,000 home. Way early to make these estimates, like I said at the last meeting, but did want to make sure I updated the board on that change. So the mill rate estimate was $9.83 at last board meeting, and it's now $9.24. And the impact on a home valued at $300,000 went from $2,949 to $2,772.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the 2026-27 preliminary budget as presented.
I'll second that.
And I just want to comment briefly that I really appreciate all the hard work, Kristen, that has gone into this, particularly in light of some of the things we've been able to accomplish this spring. It's awesome to have balanced budgets and do that while also being able to move the needle on some of our objectives. So I really appreciate all the hard work.
Other questions? Okay, we've been sorry, I was debating on whether I was going to ask something, but I'll circle back with you later, Kristen. We have motion and a second. No further discussion. So we'll do voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, next up, item H11, which is the designation of the Wisconsin Association School Board Delegate and Alternate. And as I understand, Policy and Legislative Committee had a conversation about this and would like to nominate you, Janice.
Yes. So when we were going through the, the work that committees do and defining like what the roles would be, one of the things that came out of that was that we felt like the WASB delegate should be somebody that's on the Policy and Legislative Committee meeting.
That makes sense.
And I did that last year and it was really cool. So I volunteered. But we also felt like that really needed to come to the full board in case somebody was like, oh no, please pick me. So
is this something that we would think about amending our committee policy duties for in the same way that like treasurer is also chair of FNO? Would we think about sort of putting this in policy so it's part of when you chair the committee?
I think we talked about having it be a member of the committee, not necessarily just the chair. But
Okay.
like just someone on the committee, because that is the committee that's doing the work regarding policy. I did find it really fascinating to go to the delegate representative and be the delegate and hear all the things from different school boards throughout the state and the issues that came to that delegation I thought were really interesting. So I think it's nice to communicate with, be a part of a statewide organization since there are many, maybe not all, but there are many issues facing public education and public education school boards. So anyway, we just kind of felt that it would be nice to have a committee member fill that role.
Susan.
I think the other thing that's changed is that we've added the legislative component to that committee. So it seemed appropriate with the legislative background of the committee that might be where the delegate would come from. But in the past, we've always brought it to the board and said, who would like to do that? So I advocated for at least bringing it to the board and giving anybody else that was interested a shot at doing it. It is an amazing experience, but I can't give up my little programs. It's always the one you wanted to see that's going on between the delegate things.
I'm going to move approval of Janice Stone serving as the Wisconsin Association of School Board Delegate and Rochelle Miller serving as alternate for 2026-2027.
Further discussion? All right, voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Congratulations, you two. Looking forward to hearing about it.
Hey.
All right, next on the agenda is H12, which is the wireless communication device policy. As a reminder to the board, I think Tanya both in this past Friday's email as well as this past Friday and the Friday before reminded us that the reason why this is coming here for first read instead of our normal policy process is because we are statutorily obligated to have this in place July 1. So if we don't vote for this now, we'll be out of compliance. And with that,
Yeah, and it did go to policy twice. A lot of work done on it, and also to the buildings for administrative and staff feedback, particularly at the high school. Current state of this policy is not different than what is trying to happen at the middle school, but it's the way they just already do business, which means phones come to school with kids or devices, whatever it is. They need to be powered off and stored in their lockers or their cubbies. High school is where it's a little bit of the Wild West. The high school's been working really hard at keeping them out of sight, out of range while they're during instructional time. Obviously, that becomes more of a challenge. And so as this policy comes into play, Wisconsin Act 42, just a lot of people refer to it as the cell phone ban, but it is really wireless communication. And it doesn't matter if it's a personal device or if it's a school-owned device. Really what it says is these shouldn't be used during instructional time unless a teacher has approved it or is requesting it. And so that cuts out a lot of the wireless communication things that are happening. We have a high degree of TikTok and, we block it, but kids have their personal device. YouTube is not blocked at the high school. We did block the reels and the shorts, which has helped a ton. Obviously, we can monitor all through the day when anyone's on our network, where they go basically every second. So we can see those things. It is leading to lots of good conversations about devices, particularly at the middle school, and moving forward that way. So high school's probably got the biggest work to do. Their policy has been cell phones and stuff away unless they're needed. And so as this policy comes into play, they've got some work to do about what does that going to look like in the classroom, so that is a consistent messaging.
Yeah.
Right? Are they out of sight and in backpacks? Are they in the cubby? And so as you can see, we wrote it where they'll be stored according to the handbook, right? Because that group is working on this. So they spent time looking at the policy, really thinking about how did they want that to work as far as when they were available, when they weren't. And then as far as like the logistics of the implementation, they've got some work to do. They'll be working on it the next few days. We don't have kids the next 2 days, so it's allowed some time. So that's the next step of it. So any questions related? We did move it to wireless communication device as opposed to personal because that was kind of confusing issues.
Yeah.
Because it's really not just about a personal communication device. There are a couple places where we had some latitude. We did add e-reader, smartphone, wearable technology, and any other web-enabled devices. Technology moves so fast to have it be just limited to named devices is a little hard to keep up on. My anticipation will be we will be back in the boardroom with an update on this in the next year because I think that this is the first go at it being backed by a law.
Yeah, Janice.
Oh, Eric, question?
Oh, go ahead, Eric.
Well, I was just going to make a motion, and then I was going to ask a question. So I'll move approval of policy PO 5136 as presented.
I'll second.
Now I have a question.
Yes, Eric.
It's duty to report. Who? It says duty to report. It just says a person who discovers a student using a WCD in violation of this policy is required to report the violation to the building principal.
That's right out of state statute.
Huh?
It's right out of
I think
state
it's like a see
statute.
something, say something like vibe.
That's out of the state statute? And the state statute says a person? So a 16-year-old student, a 12-year-old student, an 11-year-old student?
Pretty sure. I'll look it up though.
Sure, but let me check.
A parent walking in the building?
Wild law.
I'm asking.
I know. That's a great
No,
question.
it's-
I haven't read it in a while, so it'll be good for me to pull up.
Just a concern. You don't need to look it up. Just saying.
Oh, no, I want to look it up because
Okay.
a lot of this, I mean, it's one of those policies that came out and everyone was like, just took it. And now obviously we get our policy templates from Neola and then we go, obviously the policy committee goes through
No,
them.
I believe the people up at the state, 63% of them would do something like this.
Okay, carry on. I can't put my.
Okay, so that's a concern because it's really vague. And also, what if somebody doesn't report? The other concern I have, it's not a concern, it's just maybe a clarification, is I pretty much agree with this for the most part, although we don't have much of a choice. The emergency or threat, I'm wondering if below that, it says students may use to contact parents, which is my main concern, that I want that in there. It is in there, but I wonder if that should be above emergency or in a emergency or threat, because it's down below. By parents are advised that the best way to get in touch with your child during school days by calling the school office, period. Students may use school phones to contact parents during the school day. That's the important thing I want to see in there. It's in there. I'm just wondering if it could be more clear.
The parents are advised the best way, that part, or which?
No, the sentence that says students may use school phones to contact parents during the school day. I want that should be in there. And I just wonder if that's the right place for it, or if it should be up in section A, emergency, under emergency or threat.
I think that that's going to be a huge part of our campaign to families.
Sure.
And so in the handbook especially, and then the communication that has to go out, because we're saying that we don't want kids to have their devices on them. Parents are going to need to know how they get a hold of their kids, because our parents are, I was a high school mom too that texted my kids like, you have a dentist appointment.
Yeah, I'm thinking more the other way around, right? So my daughter's in school, something happens, she needs to contact us. I want her to get a hold of us. I don't really care about whatever freaking policy we got about it. She's got to get a hold of us. So I would just want to make sure that that is okay and that she can do that.
That top part is definitions, and so
No, I mean,
you just don't like it's at the bottom.
Could that be?
I just wonder if it's a little confusing, that's all.
There's going to be some handbook, like student handbook, to
Yeah,
go along with this too. I wonder if it could be highlighted there.
Maybe, and I know we're going to work through this. These are just my
I agree
concerns.
with you. I agree with you.
Yeah,
I'm
these are
trying
just
to-
my concerns. And the last one I would say is the enforcement piece, right? So where are we in enforcing this policy, and how will that happen? And maybe we haven't figured that out yet, but maybe it should be a little more clear.
Yeah, the steps of all that are getting figured out, right? As of right now, it's like K-8, we see it, we take it, you get it back at the end of the day. Second time, it's parents have to come in and get it. Like, there's that kind of progressive role of it. High school is a little trickier, and I think that's where more of the work needs to come in. One is, talking with the kids about why we don't have them in the classroom and the reason behind it and what do they think needs to happen, right? Being part of the solution. But it will be the same thing. It'll be progressive.
Okay. Those are my
Yeah.
I was just going to say that we spent 2 meetings, we spent a lot of time in 2 meetings working on this because it's new, and also there were just a lot of things. So especially this top part, we had a very long discussion about it, and then Tanya rewrote it based on all of our feedback, and I think cleaned it up, and it's much clearer. It's much more readable.
better.
You should have seen it. I mean, we were like, what does that even mean? So it reads a lot better than it did. Most of the second part of it is straight out of Neola, but I really feel like we have improved the top part immensely. And like Tanya said, it's probably going to end up coming back again at some point, just because things change. But I feel pretty good about where we have it. And then Eric, to your point, I think as we implement this, we'll find out what's working and what's not working. And if we need to make tweaks to it, obviously within the law, we can work on it.
We might be back in September.
We'll definitely be back in September.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, Susan.
What we talked about in policy too was that because we're statutorily required to get this approved, and again, Eric's questions are really very good. I'm sitting here with the statute in front of me trying to find the statutory language because I went through it line by line and almost word by word, right, Janice? Making sure that it incorporated all the statutory language that was required.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Susan.
But your questions are really good. So basically what we said is, if we can get it approved, that doesn't mean if you have questions, we aren't going to go back and look at them. So from my point of view, it would be very, very helpful for you to write those questions up, and then we can validate. Then, if we can answer them, then we can at least discuss them. But I'll have the time to go back and say, oh yeah, the statute requires that. In fact, I was looking for the language about the reporting. It doesn't specifically say a student, as I recall. I think
It's a tricky piece of policy because it's actually an act that amends like 4 different statutes. And so it's really messy.
It is messy. And one was still in the act.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't totally into this.
Instead of being pulled into 118.
And totally moved forward. But again, the questions are good ones, and I think they would be good questions for us to just double check and review. Because what we figured is, let's get it passed. We know it's in compliance with law right now as it's written. If we can make it better, we'll take those suggestions and we can always revise it. But we've got to get it, we're required by law to have it in place.
Well, and I'll be really interested to see with like what the high school comes up with for their handbook, so that we can kind of see like, did what we wrote work or not? You know what I mean? And I also really appreciate that this went to the high school. They had a chance to review it. And so I really appreciate that there was feedback and the ability for high school staff to ask questions and then,
Plus,
bring it back. So I appreciate that.
Tanya took it to staff twice.
Yeah.
I mean, not just once.
Yeah,
So we came back and it was changed. We were going, what? She said, well, I took it back to staff. And I'm going, oh, great. I mean, that was really nice.
I appreciate that because at the end of the day, this policy has to be implemented and implementable. So, all right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. All right, last action item, H13, revised 2026-2027 schedule of regular board meetings, dates, and locations. So I can preview this one a little bit. As you all know, we have started rotating between the Village Hall and the district office. There have been some scheduling challenges with the Village Hall where they're not available at the date that we have scheduled. And so the proposal right now is to, rather than trying to go through calendars and find a different time, just to have those at the district office for those times that the Village Hall is not available.
And it seems like there's 2 of those.
For now. Yes, Tish.
You guys already approved the one in November,
Yeah.
last month. This one is for the September date.
Yep.
I'm going to move approval of the revised 2026-2027 schedule, regular board meetings, dates, and locations as presented.
Ooh, who got it first? All right, any further discussion? Great, voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. All right, moving on to AI informational item, starting with F&O. Stephanie, do you have any updates you want to share?
I know we really went over a lot of the stuff that we talked about at our last meeting, the nutrition fees, the roof project, the budget. Just wanted to update, kind of everybody that Philip and I got numerous applications for our 2 volunteer committee members. And so we spent the last couple of weeks reviewing applications and were able to carry out some very interesting and enlightening interviews with community members. We got some great outstanding candidates, so we're really excited to move forward. And we are also going to skip our June meeting, just because the agenda is very, very light, and we're going to come back strong in July.
Nice, and then you'll have a community member on board by then, so that'd be great. All right, personnel, any additional updates, Janice, other than what we talked about today? We did a lot of approving today.
That covers it.
Great.
But it was a lot of work. We got it. We got through it. So
anything for policy and legislative?
only that we're working our way through a big chunk of Neola and we're not quite done with it. So we are meeting in June and then we'll be taking July off. So depending on what we get through in June, we might be bringing it.
Oh, go ahead, Tanya.
I actually have 2 other acts that they just came out with that have to be in place by September 1. So to get them through the board meeting in 2 meetings for July and August, we'll need to get something on the books before the July board meeting.
Okay. Nope, that's okay.
I'm gonna ruin your vacation.
Okay.
Well, we can always.
You didn't.
Well, and per policy, we can skip first read, or, when we have to, so we can go straight to action on them instead of discussion. And then the one thing I would like you, when you guys get together again, is to take a look at is the committee policy. I think that if you all are in agreement that it makes sense for someone from that committee to always be the WASB representative, putting it in policy will just make it so you don't have to bring it back here for approval. It'll just be an update for us, which I think makes sense to me. So I would at least recommend or request that you all take a look at that and then decide if you want to make that change. Then you'd have to bring it back here, obviously, for approval, but. All right, anything else, Janice? All right, TLE, Rochelle.
We did not meet in May, but we will be meeting this June, the third Tuesday from 4 to 5:30. It will be the last meeting with our current community members and teacher community, or the teacher committee member. There we go. So they were fantastic this last 2 years, and so I really appreciated them giving their time to the committee and all their experiences and insights. And then we did just do interviews. We had really great folks who wanted to join, and I wish I could have a spot for everybody because they would be valuable on the committee, but we can only choose 2. So we'll have names at the next meeting.
I have to add, Rochelle said, these are such good candidates. Can we add more community members?
No, I told her no. She called and asked, and I said, no, you may not, but I appreciate the sentiment.
Really good, helpful people.
Great. All right, Susan, you are up for MGEF.
So the Monona Grove Education Foundation met today at 4 p.m., which means I often don't have the committee reports because they talked about a tight closure at 5 o'clock, and they are still going well after that. So I'll bring you the committee report next month. But basically, they are still seeking and recruiting new board members. So if anybody's interested, please contact Carrie Robbins. They did have one new prospective board member applicant attending the meeting today, which was really nice. Then they talked about their role in the Monona Grove High School homecoming. They were even considering being in the parade. We'll see if that works out. They want to show support to the students and bring up their visibility. They talked about the goals for the foundation, outreach, increasing community awareness about the foundation. Because I think they feel that people don't really know they're there unless you go to senior recognition. And then it's very clear that they're there. And again, increasing community awareness, support for student organizations. They're going to be having their annual meeting. It's scheduled for September 30th at 6:30 at the district office. They're actually considering it be a donor appreciation event because they do get really nice donations. And they'll be doing an annual report with donors, grants, and scholarships. And again, if you went to senior recognition or the basically student recognition, you would see where they're making a huge difference. They had 2 requests for summer camps, one for an adventure camp and one for the music camp at the high school with some staff support, and those are both approved. They had a fairly long discussion. They still have $75,000 of the Amazon funds left, and they had a very, very good discussion on guidelines for how to spend those funds. And one of the pieces of the discussion was possible playground equipment and where the need for that was. And Tanya was providing input on that. But it was a significant discussion on use of funds. And then they were supposed to get to, the superintendent did their report, talked about the recognition of excellence district work, and that we're meeting tonight, and adding the 2 new members to TLNE and Finance and Operations. And then they started the finance report and talked about paying out grants, scholarships, and working on the tax report. And then I needed to come to this meeting. So anything else they did, I'll check the minutes and bring them to the next meeting.
Questions for Susan at all? All right, moving on to superintendent report.
Yes, so continue our theme of amazing high school students. Our strings and orchestra program has been selected to perform at the Wisconsin State Music Conference in the upcoming in October. So another great honor that our students have achieved. So just a shout out to them. They're going to let us know exactly when they perform and if that works out for anyone's schedules. From an operational perspective, we did get the final report from the Applied Population Lab on enrollment projections, and she will be coming from that lab to walk through those in July. We couldn't turn it around for tonight, so she will be here in person in July. Current enrollment, obviously we check that on a daily basis. We continue to see certain places and spaces where our projections are lower than our initial thoughts. So we keep watching that closely because obviously we need to align our staffing and resources appropriately as we walk through that. Maywood has 3 water heaters and one of them just went out. So that is a $13,000 investment that we need to make because obviously hot water, very important. But I think as we continue to talk about the things that come up in the building that we're responsible for. And then just to the earlier point around collaboration with the Village of Cottage Grove, we're very appreciative to have access to their space and understand that they have village business that they have to pivot on. And we apologize to the community for shifting locations, but trying to make that work. And hopefully we can have a little bit more permanent home in that side of the district in the future. But appreciate that from people. And then I think both committees shared that they did finish their volunteers. I am finishing up the appointments for the teachers. So those will go out, and then once they're accepted, we can share that with the community members. Also.
Eric.
Just a couple clear questions about the open enrollment for Winnequa, 4K and 5th sections. 4K 25, 26, we're losing a section, right? That's why we're going down. For our 4K?
Yeah, we went down a section.
So we're going from 4 sections to 3. Okay. So 62 and 25, 26 going to 48 students projected, 26, 27?
Yeah. And then 5 to 4 in kindergarten.
Yeah, kindergarten is going up. Okay.
Down.
Kindergarten also went down.
From 5 sections to 4.
4 to 5.
We projected 5, we're staying at 4.
Yes.
Yeah, wait, kindergarten's going up. We have kindergarten 71 enrollment, projected 106.
Oh, you're talking about the number of students? Yes, because we don't capture all of our 4K students, so we capture more come in 5K.
Right. So that wasn't my question, but it's relevant because the 4K is going down, but kindergarten is going up. So we're adding a section in kindergarten and removing a section in 4K. Is that correct?
Yeah, Kristen's coming up.
Okay.
Walk through that.
Come on up, Kristen.
So we originally projected 106 5K students at Winnequa. We quickly realized that our 4K numbers, we had a high 4K class last year. If you look at the 25-26 enrollment, we had 62 4K students. That is very unusual. And the way the calculation works, it looks like that grade progression percentage, and it applied to kindergarten, and it increased that projected total. We found out very quickly those students weren't coming, and so we made an adjustment. So originally in the forecast, we said we need 5 sections to accommodate those 106 students. We have 81 students right now actually attending.
Or kindergarten? Okay.
So that's why it went down to 4.
Got it. So that would also affect open enrollment for 4K too, correct? Because we're losing a section
For next year.
for next year. Okay.
Right, right now we only have 39 4K resident students, whereas we projected 48.
Okay. One more question. The projected class size of fifth grade, 25. Are we within our recommended goal for that?
26 is the top of
So
that.
we're right there.
Yeah. Yep. So we're
Which
watching
is that same bubble class as last year,
Yeah.
right?
That was fourth grade. Yep.
Okay. Those are my questions.
We're watching them.
I did ask administration to retake a look at our 4K and kindergarten open enrollment numbers. I think that I want to be mindful, and I think, Andrew, you spoke earlier today, and you're not the first family who's talked about the fact that like keeping families together is really important. We've talked about that as a board sort of in previous iterations as well for a hot minute. You all remember we had a sibling guarantee policy, which for reasons that aren't worth re-adjudicating, the board voted down. But I think we have parents that are in pipeline, and I think we need to think about what does flexibility look like at those early childhood grades. And so I had asked Kristen to retake a look at that to see if we could open up more seats at 4K.
Yeah, and it seems like the section is a big issue there that really kind of stands in that way.
Well, and that's been the problem historically with open enrollment, right? Is that we've been admitting more students than we actually had space for, and then having to then have a different FTE, which impacts the budget. So I don't know what the right solution is there, but I think that, it's like we were too much here, right? And we're moving here. So is there some flexibility in middle ground there, at least worth thinking about, and us at least walking down that path, even if the answer is no?
I think the right approach is to use your projected enrollment and fill in seats. And as you can see from the projected enrollment of 48 students with 3 sections, that puts us right at 16, which is our goal, which means we didn't have any seats. So I think it makes a lot of sense as we look at, we only have 39 students. Should we take a look at opening more seats to get closer to
That would be the next, what we would look at is, do we change it from 16 to 18?
Well, but
you could still add some seats if 16 is our goal. That's what we really
We're
want.
at 13 right now,
I
Eric,
also-
with 39 students.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going with.
Yeah, because this is,
26,
this is old.
Yeah, we're
So,
currently sitting at 13
We're 13
with
right
3
now.
sections.
I think the other thing too, and I think this is a board discussion about philosophy, and so for the board that has been on for a while that heard me go on about this when we were originally looking at rescinding our policy around sibling guarantee, right, which I was adamantly against, I think that there's a tension between what our class size goals are and how we think about family and community engagement and our families that are here. And so I don't know what the right solution is there, but for example, I think it would be an interesting question to come back to the board and say, hey, even if we were sitting at 16, let's say, or 15, and say, hey, we're really close to goal here. We have 3 siblings or whatever, right? And what is our value, right? And I think that that's a reasonable discussion for us to have, kind of not in this particular moment, but as we move forward about how we find the balance between our class size policy, our goal, and what we want to do in order to ensure that our open enrolled families are, well protected and preserved. So I don't know what the solution is there, but certainly right now when we're looking at 13, there's some room there.
I think that cadence works. Establish your projected enrollment and what your seats are.
Yep.
Monitor actuals. As we hit that July 30th date, if we have spaces, the board can always say, let's take a look and open up seats if we need to.
Yeah, so I think at our June meeting then, we should, sorry, it's June currently. Sorry, in July, we should be able to have a conversation around whether or not we can open more seats. So, great, thank you. Other thoughts for Tanya around superintendent-related items?
I would just like to say, going back to the very first one, the MGHS Chamber Orchestra being selected for WSMA, that is super hard to be able to get selected to do that. And it's not like people apply every year, like you wait until you have a year where you know you have a group of kids this year that can maybe get accepted. but then the kids who actually perform are next year's kids. So like you have to have a strong enough program that you can do that. So I just shout out again that's happening because it's really rare, and I'm trying to think of the last time we've had a group perform. It's been a long time.
I don't think she said never.
Yeah.
Susan?
Since we can do a little bit of adding to the superintendent's report, the other thing I'd like to do is thank Tanya for being right there with us at graduation, because that was really nice that she and Mitch were right there supporting the graduates as they came across the stage. And also the MG21 graduation, which is always one of the most heartfelt, incredible experiences, to see how well these students feel about where they are today and where they're going to go. It's really fun. It would be fun to be able to hear everybody at the big graduation, but we'd be there.
Gonna be there all day. Still be there.
Yeah, right now, right.
All right, so before we move into closed session, I just wanted to note, future meeting dates are there and listed, so. Yeah, if you go to meeting dates in the public content.
It's loading slow.
Oh, it's.
Oh, got it. All right, yep, all right.
Do note that Finance and Operations is not having a June meeting that, as
Yes.
you mentioned. So the
There's
next,
no board meeting in July, though?
Well.
There is on the other sheet.
There is.
there has to be, yeah.
got ahead of myself.
Got it. So there is a board meeting.
Yes,
in
we're having a board meeting in July.
Right.
Yes. Okay. Can I get a motion to convene into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 1985, Pren 1, Pren C, and 1985, Pren 1, Pren F for consideration of the following: superintendent evaluation, review of professional conduct and performance data regarding an employee, 2026-2027 non-representative support staff compensation, 2026-2027 administrator compensation.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Great, roll call vote. Rochelle? Philip?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Janice?
Aye.
Susan? Stephanie?
Aye.
Elizabeth, aye. Ayes have it, we're on closed. We'll take like a 2-minute and then move into the other room for close. Yep, yeah, let's take a break and then we'll go.